Well, it is Prime Minister Modi holding that key NDA huddle, which is underway inside the Parliament in the national capital, with that massive welcome for Prime Minister Modi on a day when he has cracked the deal with the United States, and that is the NDA, in fact, saying Jai Ho to the deal between Prime Minister Modi and Donald Trump. A win-win for the India-US double engine, with Modi Sarkar there in that political mood, setting the tone right, and of course a huge celebration taking place inside the Parliament. All smiles and that huge garland that you can see. Of course, Nitin Nabeen, the BJP president, being garlanded inside the Parliament. Of course, the Prime Minister was asked about the US trade deal, and congratulating him, of course, were the reporters right outside the Parliament, to which the Prime Minister literally thanked the reporters. Today is a day of much celebration for the Indian exporters, for the Indian people. The Prime Minister has thanked President Trump on behalf of 1.4 million for 1.4 billion Indians, and this is because of the trade deal in which the tariffs have been slashed down to 18% from 50%.
नमस्ते प्रधानमंत्री जी, यूएस डील की शुभकामनाएं।
सर यूएस डील
हर्ष और उल्लास के साथ हम चाहते हैं कि पूरा एनडीए पार्टी के लीडर्स, विशेष करके एनडीए के अलग अलग पार्टी के जो फ्लोर लीडर्स हैं, मैं सबसे अनुरोध करता हूं कि एक अद्भुत ऐतिहासिक जो अचीवमेंट, फ्री ट्रेड एग्रीमेंट इतने देशों के साथ, और कल अमेरिका का साथ जो अमेरिका राष्ट्रपति जी का घोषणा के साथ जो न्यूज देश को खुशी के माहौल में रंगा दिया है, उसके लिए मैं प्रधानमंत्री जी का अभिनंदन के लिए सारे एनडीए लीडर्स को धन्यवाद करता हूं।
The NDA MPs congratulating Prime Minister on the trade deal. The Prime Minister being felicitated inside the Parliament during that meeting of the NDA, with chants of Bharat Mata Ki Jai and Jai Ho, in fact, that have been heard inside the Parliament. And we have Aishwarya joining us. Aishwarya, take us through what's really going on here with celebrations, not just inside the Parliament, but across the country.
Well, certainly all smiles there at the NDA Parliamentary Party meeting, where all the members of the NDA arrived, felicitated first the BJP President Nitin Nabeen and later Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the historic deal that India and United States cracked last night. It was first Prime Minister who thanked the reporters when congratulated by many media personals on the India-US historic trade deal. He said thank you, and then later went into that NDA Parliamentary Party meeting where he was felicitated by all the NDA members. Bharat Mata Ki Jai, Jai Ho were the slogans that were chanted by the NDA members, and they all felicitated. Kiran Rijiju, Union Parliamentary Affairs Minister, was hosting the NDA Parliamentary Party meeting, and he mentioned about how India had the tough negotiations while be it with different countries. He mentioned about different trade deals that India has so far, and now finally when the news came from United States President Donald Trump, it was a historic occasion, and certainly he also mentioned that it's just a news that had been floated. The Congress party, who is asking for the entire details of the United States and India trade deal, will come very out soon, is something that Kiran Rijiju also informed different members of the NDA. And certainly it is because of the hard negotiations by the Commerce Ministry and the negotiation teams, the interlocutors, it is finally the historic trade deal, which will impact millions of people in the country, and the exports that India does is something that Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiran Rijiju told the NDA members, and later it was Prime Minister Narendra Modi was felicitated by all the NDA Parliamentary Party floor leaders, including Chirag Paswan, Jitan Ram Manjhi, and others who were a part of this meeting. So certainly it was big smiles at the NDA Parliamentary Party meeting, and now further strategy will be prepared as to how the NDA members should go ahead in the budget session of the Parliament.
Absolutely. Smiling, the members of the NDA, and of course, a huge smile that we're seeing amongst us reporters, and news anchors as well. Aditya, of course, take us through the nitty-gritties of this deal that yet has to be finalized, has to be announced by the NEA. But the 2 points that really stand out is, one, India needs to buy more American products. This would perhaps include oil from Venezuela, and stop buying oil from Russia. Those seem to be the conditions of this trade deal.
Well, this is an incredible moment in the history of US and India. 20 years of strategic partnership now being carved out into a new phase through this particular trade deal that was being negotiated, a hard bargain between US and India. Tough negotiations, really. In the past, we've heard a lot of leaders in US saying that Indians are tough negotiators, and that's how it has been finalized. It's going to be a win-win situation. That's how the Indian government is trying to dub this. Of course, we do not have the nitty-gritties or the final blueprint of the trade deal, of what it means for India, what it means for the US, how beneficial will this be for the common people, for businesses in these countries. The Russian oil was one of the key clinchers. That's what we're being told. Donald Trump claiming that India has agreed to stop buying Russian oil completely and diversify into buying Venezuelan oil and more American products, more American, trade that will happen on the tariffs front. From 50%, it has been slashed to 18%, one of the lowest in Asia. We've seen competing economies like Indonesia, Bangladesh, and several others who are at a much higher pedestal of 19% or further. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, as was expected, being felicitated by the colleagues of the NDA and the BJP inside the Indian Parliament. In a few minutes from now, we will be hearing from the Prime Minister himself, who will be speaking in detail about this particular deal and what it means for the Indian masses. Perhaps later in the day, we could hear either the Commerce Minister or a top minister from the Modi cabinet speaking inside the Parliament, giving details of the US-India trade deal and what the slashing of the tariffs really meant when it comes to the India-US strategic partnership that is being taken forward. Overall, Divya, we've had a bipartisan support from US. We've been speaking to a lot of top diplomats and experts and foreign policy wonks on this particular situation between New Delhi and Washington, D.C. That was being planned for a very long time, but finally there's been a consensus. I also met top bureaucrats from Ministry of External Affairs and Commerce last week on Friday who had confirmed to me that we are at the last level of the negotiations, almost at the closure, and the obstacles that were there are behind us. At that moment, it was difficult to believe because over the last few months, there have been hectic negotiations, a lot of tough warnings coming in from the US side as well, but particularly from Peter Navarro and Lutnick, who haven't had the best things to say about India. But now it does seem like that is behind us. India and US coming together for the FTA, those visuals coming from the Indian Parliament where Prime Minister Narendra Modi and of course the BJP president being felicitated. And what an incredible moment this is. India finalizing trade deal, not just with the US. One will have to see the bigger picture out here. It was New Zealand, it was Oman, it was the India-EU FTA. And now finally, in letter and spirit, we have the India and US trade deal that is on cards, perhaps to be formally announced and signed in the next few days. We have Foreign Minister Jaishankar in Washington, D.C. today. Tomorrow, he'll be attending a very critical meeting on critical minerals between several democracies. And further, we could possibly see Trump also visiting India in the next few months. So it's a huge
Very
moment.
soon, that announcement also is expected, Aditya. But